Welcome to another History Creators Quickie training module. In this training, I'll be lifting the lid on how the Intertype team goes about publishing a book using my current book project as a real-life example. Self-publishing is full of complexity and confusion. It's something I hear nearly every day. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it's true. Publishing has been in existence for over 2,000 years, and in that time, the industry has purposefully created complexity in order to justify its existence, to create barriers to entry for new competitors, and to justify excessive charges. But it doesn't have to be that way. Hi, I'm Ian Bosler. I started Intertype Publish and Print back in 2004. Since then, I've been on a mission to disrupt the traditional publishing industry and remove all the BS content creators must put up with. These quickie training modules will help you build the solid foundations needed to deliver a successful publishing project. Over 2,000 book projects have allowed the Intertype team to create a process that smashes the complexity and confusion suffered by most authors. In this training, I'll be lifting the lid on our process, which will give you an insight as to what your manuscript goes through before it hits the shelves. In the last episode, I looked at the key tasks required to take an edited manuscript and prepare it for publication as a finished book. In this episode, we look at the actual publishing process as it pertains to the unique issues faced by Australian self-published authors. The term publishing is a loose term that can mean different things to different people. For the purposes of this case study, I consider publishing to be the simple act of having your book available for purchase. But before that, you need to understand that you need to be aware of pirates. You may find this hard to believe, but there is an industry built on pirating books. You hear about it with music and film, but it's just as prevalent with books. Highly popular books such as Harry Potter are constantly pirated and sold via unscrupulous websites, retail stores and markets. Due to the value of the monetary theft, there are plenty of criminal and civil mechanisms to fight the pirates. On the other hand, business book pirating is a more common and soul-destroying theft with poor policing and expensive civil remedies. It's also the hardest to tackle. The biggest beneficiaries from business book pirating tend to be coaches and consultants that steal others' intellectual property and present it as theirs. I regularly see examples where the entire book has been stolen with only the author name changed. While some may try to thinly disguise the theft by changing the title, the cover and the ISBN. Coaches and consultants can be severely impacted when this happens, as it creates confusion in the minds of potential clients and can lead to you being wrongly perceived as unethical. Royalty theft is another big issue today's authors have to deal with. There is a lack of transparency throughout the whole publishing and book selling industries, made even worse by the 40,000 plus online bookstores around the world. There are a few things you can do to minimise the risk of your work and royalties being stolen though. Firstly, be careful of who you send your working or Word files to. Passing them around to all your family and friends for input may seem like a good idea, but all it takes is one unsecured computer or email account and your work will be easily stolen. Never offer all or part of your book as a downloadable PDF. Don't think PDF security measures will lock your file, as they are easily hacked. You also need to be careful of the platforms you use for hosting electronic versions of your book, as many are regularly hacked. Finally, be aware of book distributors that service the nearly 40,000 online bookstores. They typically require an EPUB file, which is even less secure than a PDF, and they send the file to so many platforms that some are bound to be fronts for pirates, and while others may lack proper security. You can also forget about transparency, which means royalty theft is a given. With that in mind, you now need to start to decide on book formats. The self-published author needs to decide which of the 4 main book formats they want their book created in. Firstly, we have the electronic or ebooks. This format has a strong following, especially in the US, but a bit less so in Australia. Interestingly, the global statistics are showing that the percentage of book sales that are electronic seems to have reached its peak, but are still strong enough to be worth pursuing. In fact, some authors only ever publish in electronic format. However, I believe they are missing a revenue opportunity. It's very easy to publish most books in electronic format, provided it's catered for during the preparation framework. The second format is the printed book. The printed book market is by far the largest, according to global statistics, and shows a steady 2 to 3% annual growth rate. The technology for printing books has evolved over the past 10 years and is now well suited for self-published authors. First, we have printed on demand. No longer does the self-published author need to buy thousands of books and manage the shipping process from the kitchen table. Print on demand, or POD, removes the financial risk of buying large quantities of books that may not sell. Properly operated, a POD system will have books in the mail within 24 hours of purchase and will eliminate the need for the author to worry about the fulfillment process altogether. You also need to consider whether you want a hardcover or softcover book. The vast majority of self-published books are in a softcover or paperback format, primarily due to the costs involved. Generally, hardcover books aren't suited to the short-run print-on-demand process. However, this is changing, but the book cost comes at a premium, which may make it uneconomic. The third format is audiobooks. Currently, this format only represents a very small percentage of the book market. However, it is growing rapidly and should be considered for most text-based books. I personally prefer audiobooks, but I also purchase a printed copy of selected titles. And finally, we have the video books. This is the smallest book segment. However, it lends itself very well for children's picture books, recipe books, and instruction manuals. The delivery technology is still evolving, with membership websites dominating while smartphone apps are becoming more established. For the vast majority of self-published books, I recommend that the author start with electronic and printed books. These will account for the majority of sales and will establish the book viability for adding audio and video at a later date. This is the approach I'm taking for this case study book, for which I expect the audiobook will be published within 3 months and a membership-based product will be built within 6 months. Of course, provided book sales indicate the worthiness of the investment. Now we need to decide on the platforms through which your book will be sold. Australia's geographical location has some severe implications for your reader's experience. Most online bookstores, including Amazon, are set up to service the huge population centres in the Northern Hemisphere. A printed book purchased from these online stores will result in a 3 to 5 week delivery time frame, and to rub salt into the wounds, a $20 book will end up costing over $50 when you factor in taxes, delivery charges and exchange rates. For this case study, we'll be deploying the printed and ebook formats of my book using the following platforms. Firstly, we're going to be going through Amazon.com. We're talking about the US-based, not the Australian Amazon platform. Will be used to cater for electronic books, which in their turn is Kindle, and for all printed book sales outside of Australia. Some key points to note are, when set up correctly, the Amazon platform can cater for up to 90% of online book sales. The entire platform is secure and very transparent, which minimises the risk of piracy and royalty theft. After Google and YouTube, the Amazon platform is the 3rd largest search engine in the world. It also enables consistent author and book branding across all formats. And finally, It has very good service standards for book sales across the major population centres in the Northern Hemisphere. The next area we will build is called the bookseller page. This is a dedicated web page with e-commerce capabilities and resides in Intertype's Aussie author bookstore. The purpose of the page is to facilitate print-on-demand sales of the book into Australia while facilitating buyers who prefer an electronic version or for those living outside of Australia. Some key points to note are the latest search engine optimization techniques are used to facilitate the book being found on Google. The page is integrated with the Amazon platform, making it easy for the buyer. The page is integrated with an author platform to enable building deeper relationships with readers. If a book is bought before 9:30 a.m, it's in the mail same day, which delivers excellent customer service to book buyers, and it's hands-free for the author. It has consistent author and book branding. And finally, 50 printed books are produced to enable the author, in this case me, to hand out to family, friends and key customers. Additional batches are easily produced for special events such as book signing and speaking engagements. So what's next? In the next episode of Saturday Secrets, I'll be applying Intertype's unique promotion framework to show how we go about promoting my new book in printed as well as ebook form. I'll also multi-purpose this episode and future episodes into mini training series, articles, etc. Some key takeaways from part 2 of this case study are, firstly, Australian self-published authors need to cater for the unique publishing requirements due to our geographical location. Piracy and royalty theft are real, but you can easily minimise the risks. Keeping it simple saves time and money. I know self-publishing can be daunting, but it doesn't have to be. In coming episodes, I'll be exploring the simple, no BS and fast approach to completing a successful publishing project. Finally, I want to leave you with one piece of advice. One of the many things you need to be a successful published author is to make your book available to as many people as possible without going overboard. For Australian authors, the approach outlined in this case study achieves that while keeping the entire process as simple and as transparent as possible.